the October 8th, 2013 council agenda. So I wanted to kind of give you just a little bit of information on that. And after quite a bit of research, we have decided, and the name pumper engine are really just interchangeable. We have decided to go with a pumper in lieu of a quint. We think that is a very good decision. Some of the benefits of that are the mobility and maneuverability. With a pumper, it's easier to turn, navigate through apartment complexes, tight streets, and things like that. They also typically require less maintenance in areas, and that's been one of our biggest problems, is keeping our fire trucks in service. So we think that'll be a benefit to us. We are increasing the water gallon.
Because it's 2,500.
Yes, and in some cases, a lot of quints are actually in the 300 gallon range. So this will give us a little more flexibility as well. Pierce is the truck that we selected, the manufacturer. We looked at 3 brands, Rosenbauer and Crimson, and that was primarily driven by the repair center locations and the fact that those 3 brands are used heavily in the Metroplex. They are ingrained in some larger departments. And so we established an apparatus committee, and they went out and did a great deal of research and came back unanimously with Pierce in the selection. Some of the quick benchmarks of this decision for selection: thicker frame rails compared to the 10-inch on the others that we looked at, independent front suspension, which is obviously helps the ride of a fire truck, but also as we researched this and as the firefighters did their drive test, you also get better vehicle control and you improve your stopping distance, which is always important in any emergency vehicle. 2-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. That is fairly new. For many, many years, they were just a standard 1 year. Now, when I say that to you, other components, the frame, the chassis, the pump, they all have longer warranties. It kind of gets independent after that. But initially, everything is covered bumper to bumper. The Pierce fire trucks come with driver, passenger, and side impact airbag standard. That's obviously a big deal to us. And they are the largest fire manufacturer in the United States. They build about 2,500 fire trucks annually, which is quite a bit, over 200 a month when you look at it that way. They have service centers in Denton, and another one that's just about to open in Cedar Hill, and 5 mobile repair technicians in the DFW areas. As we surveyed the Pierce cities, they all came back with very positive comments, and the repair facilities were very professional and well appointed. And projected delivery of December of this year. So.
And how long would it take to? I know when we get the big trucks in, sometimes it's 2 or 3 months to get them in service after we actually get them.
We'll experience. I don't know that we'll go 3 months, but it's pretty common to have about a month in there. So you can shorten that a little bit, but it'll be January before it's running up down the streets.
How many large fire trucks do we have that can accommodate, like those condominiums up there in Lake Park?
To get to the roof? Well, we went and checked that, Mayor, a couple times, and actually had crews go up there, do water flow, and check access to the roof. Our 110-foot platform will get anywhere through the building, but our quints are 78-footers, and they will also get, if we need to get personnel to the roof, they can go up the air and get to the roof. So everything we have will get where we need to be. Now, you always have to consider when you start talking aerials is accessibility, yes. Parking, traffic. There's so many factors that play into an aerial device when you start looking at apartment complexes and things. I am not against aerials, but you've got to weigh it out, and we have really looked into this a great deal, and we firmly believe we are going in a good direction.
Yeah, they are the tallest ones we have in the city.
As far as apartments? Yes. And well, 3-story, they're all kind of in line. I can't think of anything that would be any taller than that. We have taller buildings.
Right. I'm thinking of the people access.
Will the 110 then just go in reserve, or will that's still going to be service?
That's still kind of up in the air, but pinned down right now to answer it, my desire would be to keep it in service. With us running the squad like we're doing is taking a considerable load off. What we putting tires on that, every 6-7 months. And we've increased that out now.
Well over a year.
Well over a year. Not all of that can be tied to the squad. Kyle, they changed the tire compound, which has an effect on that too. But ultimately, to answer your question, we're planning on extending the life of the 110-foot platform, and that squad is obviously in line to help.
I just like the idea that we've got a 110-foot if we need it, even if we keep it in reserve afterwards, that just, if we need it, we've got it.
Absolutely. We are 100% on board with that, and don't worry about that. Yes, sir.
I'm not questioning your analysis, and I'm sure that it's valid, but I remember in the past that Pierce, the name never came up. The name that came up was always Sutliff.
I couldn't hear you.
Sutliff or
Sutphin? Sutphin. That's what we have now.
I know.
Yes, sir.
Has the problem with maintenance somewhat related to the brand?
Well, yes and no. So, a couple things. We, over the last few years, have had an increasing problem with parts availability. When we are down, when a fire truck goes down, the timeline to get parts is an issue. But probably, I do not want to beat up Sutphin fire trucks. They make a good fire truck. But the biggest driving factor for us is the local repair centers. With Sutphin, we do not have that, and we are at the mercy, if that's the best word, to wait for a repair technician to get back into the Metroplex in some cases. And that extends our downtime considerably in some cases.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So that will be the closest, but they are
Yes, we've been up there several times. They did the in-service on our squad, and it's not a bad drive at all.
Yeah, but don't anybody think that we're abandoning our aerial vehicle? I wouldn't characterize this as reserve or frontline or whatever. We're adding a truck. And remember, this is an ad. We had $375,000 budgeted for 2014, and then an additional $375,000 for 2015 to buy an aerial of a winch. Recall during the budget work session, we proposed this to you.
What's our cost?
We add $75,000 to our $375,000 for $450,000 this year and next year. And this would be a pure add to the fleet.
How much is this one costing?
$450 in ballpark term. The price they got today is $447.5 or something. And we may.
You buy it at the end of the month, and they need your quote.
Yeah. So it'll be plus or minus $5,000, say, $450. Then we would turn around and buy another one next year, basically the same thing. And then one of our older ones would go out at that point. We would maintain 6 fire trucks, which would be new pumpers. And then we would, in effect, put that oldest Quint, I don't even know what they call it, reserve, but we're not running as much. But it will be available for them to run whatever they need. And much less maintenance and much less downtime is to go and to get 2 for the price of 1, basically. So that will be on your next council agenda. This is on HGAC.
Yes, sir, it is.
So, but they all are. And as far as that brand, in the past, there was preference for Sutphin. I kind of equate this to, familiar with Clifton, Texas. They're the Ford dealer in Clifton, Texas. If you really live around Clifton, you're probably going to buy a Ford. Why? Because there's a service. There's a dealership there to work on. Not that Ford's any better than Chevrolet. There's a Ford dealer there. It's much the same thing. They both all make good fire trucks, but it's where you get them worked on. And these 2 service centers here are key for us.
And we're dead center between Cedar Hill and Denton. We're just about dead center between the 2 of them.
Yes, sir.
So we don't have to wait for weeks for parts. And And the other thing is, this is somewhat of a spec truck, and that there's very little customization to it, that the engine that's in it is in most of their trucks. Sutton's, they were primarily custom spec trucks. So there's a lot of fancy parts that we have to wait on.
That affects your part availability, considerably.
Plus on top of that, you may keep the trucks in service longer, maintenance costs are lower.
We believe it's good, and I think the firefighters
Long
are
term.
supportive of this, and I think it's a lot. So that'll be on there on October 8th. Any other questions? And Ms. Jewell, who just closed on her house in Euless,
Yeah.
is going to give us a financial report.
Yes, thank you. And tonight, the report summarizes the financial activity through the end of August. We're now 11 months through fiscal year 2013, or 92% of the way through the fiscal year, so almost done. At the end of August, the fund balance for the general fund, what do we have there? Juvenile Case Manager Fund, EDC, CCPD, seized assets, Lake Park PID, cable peg fees, debt service, and as well as a lot of other miscellaneous funds. All have increased fund balances year to date. Most of these increases can be attributed to the stronger economic conditions, including increased sales tax collections, which you'll see later is almost 8% higher than last fiscal year at the same time. The other funds, including the car rental fund and various public safety grant special revenue funds, have experienced a decrease year to date in fund balance. The car rental fund has increased revenues actually year to date, but due to the timing of the collections, all funds will not be received until after the fiscal year closes. We're still within, well within budgeted parameters, and we just have a drawdown on fund balance at this time. In the proprietary funds, the Arbor Days, Texas Star Sports Complex, Texas Star Golf Course, and the Rate Stabilization Fund all have reported an increase in fund balance for year to date. The planned funding of capital projects resulted in a decline in fund balance for the Water Wastewater Fund and the Drainage Fund year to date. As mentioned last month in the Water and Wastewater Fund, also they have to show the transfer of bond sales to the CIP fund that took place, and the Service Center Fund and Recreation class funds were also planned to have a decrease year to date in fund balance. The service centers due to some reimbursements, as well as the timing of those reimbursements, as well as has some field contingencies and reimbursements that will be used to fund any overages at this point. The Recreation class fund was budgeted last year to draw down on some fund balances this year. The Water and Wastewater Debt Service Fund has also shown a decrease due to issuance of the bonds that we discussed previously in July, the issuance cost. Internal Service Funds, the Risk Fund has experienced an increase in fund balance year to date, and the Equipment Replacement and Health Insurance Fund balances have decreased this year as planned in the previous year's budget. Overall, we began the year with $36.6 million in operating funds, and at the end of August, we have a combined fund balance of almost $41.3 million. Capital project funds, combined fund balance is down from where we began the year and has continued to decrease since last month due to most funds being expended during the year paid on the projects that are currently underway. As the projects progress through the year, fund balances will continue to decline as expected. On the consolidated statement of revenues and expenditures, several of the revenue categories are exceeding prior years as well as the current year budget year to date. Property and sales taxes fall into this group, while gross receipts taxes continue to fall below prior year and budgeted expectations, and car rental taxes slightly below expectations, as we discussed 2 minutes ago. At the end of August, excluding the bond refunding and issuance costs, operating revenues are almost $3.2 million ahead of the budget and over $6.2 million over the prior year for the same reporting period. Overall operating expenditures at the end of August, excluding the bond refunding and issuance, total $83.3 million, which is within 1% of budgeted expectations year to date. Turning to the individual funds, the general fund has collected $31.3 million, which is approximately 96.9% of the budget. As mentioned previously, the property tax collections are ahead of both the prior year actuals as well as the current year budget year to date. Sales tax collections have been very strong, exceeding prior year in every month this fiscal year except for May and July. Fiscal year to date, they are still exceeding both prior year and budget. In your detail, we gave you the most recent data indicating September collections were up for the month compared to prior year, the same time last year at 4.69%. If you were to factor out all the audit adjustments from prior year as well as current year, this is actually an increase of a little over 9% from the prior year. Year-to-date collections are very strong, still at 7.7% from last year. Municipal court revenues vary from month to month based on case volume and the timing of payments as reflected in this chart. Fiscal year-to-date revenues are currently exceeding prior year and budgeted expectations through August. Development revenues also vary on a month-to-month basis, depending on the level of developmental activity. And fiscal year-to-date, this revenue category is surpassing both the budget, but is falling short a little bit from last year's revenues. The general fund expenditures through August are $28.5 million, or 83.3% of the appropriated budget. With the exception of November, the car rental receipts have also realized increases every month as compared to last year. Fiscal year to date, this revenue source is outpacing last year, but is still just a little short of budget expectations at this point. The September data shows this upward trend continuing with an increase of 5% for the month and 5% for the fiscal year. The water and wastewater fund has collected $16.9 million year to date, or 86.3% of the expected budget. Expenses through the end of August totaled $18.5 million, or 87.8% of the budget. This again does include an increase for the transfer of funds received for the bond sale for the CIP project for the reclaimed water. As of August, the golf course is 204 rounds below budget. But if you remember last month, we were 638 rounds below the budget. So significant improvement there.
Yeah, something else, and just an anecdotal thing on the golf course about our decision to go with the new greens. I played with the guy in the last few days. He's got a group of about 16, 20 people that play at different golf courses all around, and he said he loves Texas Star, but only played us in the spring because to keep the bent grass alive, we have to keep it all long, we have to keep it really, really wet. And so they would go to other courses that have the mini birdie and things like that. And when I told him, I showed him the practice green and what we were going to, he says, oh, we're coming here. Because it was their favorite course from the layout, but the bent grass, because of the heat and what we have to do to keep it alive, it would lessen us. So I think moving that to the mini birdies is a really excellent move for us.
Okay, in year to date, this is about 1,089 rounds more than last year at the same time. Average revenue per round is slightly under budget, but continues to be ahead of the prior year. These variances have resulted in an overall shortfall in golf operation revenues of $42,000, and food and beverage expenses were up $6,000 compared to the budget, therefore showing an overall $36,000 less than revenues than expected. Operating expenses through the end of August exceeded budget by $59,000. This facility has a net operating income of $713,000, which is about $95,000 less than anticipated at this point in the year. After factoring in debt and capital expenses, there is a net gain of $37,000 for this facility. Fiscal year-to-date revenues at the Texas Star Sports Complex, which include both softball world and the parks at Texas Star, exceeded anticipated revenue collections through August of $43,000. Expenses at the complex were over budgeted expectations by $127,000, which leaves this facility with a net operating income of $157,000. After factoring debt and capital, this operation has a net gain of $3,000, which is about $85,000 less than budgeted expectations. This is the August financial summary. Do you have any questions?
Don't get her head too big.
Why not? Why not?
This is the one we all came for. We're gonna ask Al Perman for water up there.
Oh, my pleasure. It seems like everywhere I go, I bring the drought with me. When I left PC, or in Maryland, the Potomac almost dried up. Came to Texas, we've been in droughts ever since I've been here. But coming to Euless, it's no different. I checked the National Weather Service data, and guess what? They're suggesting, or they're actually saying that we're going to continue the drought through into next year. Significant part of next year.
Now, we've got more water than McKinney.
Yes, you do. You definitely do. McKinney, we're in stage 3, you're only in stage 1, so that's great. I was encouraged when I saw that. And you know, the recent rain we got was a good rain, but it actually raised Richland Chambers 3 inches. So it's going to take significant rain to fill the reservoirs and get that where we need to be. We're right at 66, 65%. At 60, I think the trigger is where you actually go to, or it's suggested that the cities would go to stage 2. Just while I've got you, they give you an update on your wells. The northern well is operational. The center well is actually, there's a replacement pump that was ordered and is in. We're waiting on the pump mechanic to actually come and put that pump in place. And then the Fuller well is operational. We're doing some additional water quality tests, and then we'll know exactly what we've got there. That's all I have.
So hopefully, all the rains that we just got, and I think we expect a little more this weekend, didn't do much to adjust to increase our reservoir level. We got the uses down, using our water much. But as it currently stands, we may very well see the stage 2 implementation in October. We'll continue to monitor that closely and let you know as well ahead of time that occurs. Any questions for Hal? He knows a lot, you know. He can answer all kinds of questions.
Don't ask me where anything is. I do know where the wells are.
Do you know where the Bedford lines are and the Colleyville lines are?
When I run into that city and I look at the, I can tell that I'm in the other one.
And you say, wow, what a crazy line this is. It is.
Well, okay then, Miss, where'd you go?
She's been right here.
I'm not gonna be here, so I'm not really paying that much attention to this. Kim can give us an update on where to finish the process and make sure that we're headed towards doing what y'all want us to do.
No changes to the process from last year. I know it's a good process for you. So just a little brief summary of what we've done so far. We have sent out letters to all those folks that have expiring terms coming up and have received all but one response back so far, and we're expecting that any day now. And I'll give you an update on kind of what we're seeing as far as reappointments versus we do have some new applications that have come in, and our deadline to receive those is actually going to be on this coming Friday, so they'll be included in your workbooks as well. We'll work on next week putting together the workbooks and hope to have those to you at the October 8th meeting. We talked about earlier in the year about the interview date, Monday, October 21st, so make sure that's on your calendar. If it's not, it is on the council's calendar. Traditionally, we have interviewed and we've kind of talked about this a little bit with whether or not we bring in the folks who are currently serving that are up for reappointment or not. And currently that is we bring in our PNZ, our ZBA, our library, our parks. We have brought in teen court as well. So I'm looking for some guidance from y'all on what you want to do to proceed. And we can certainly look at them on October 8th when we've got a good idea of the new applicants and what vacancies that you will need to be filling. And then hoping to take action on at the November 12th meeting to actually make those appointments. Most of the terms or all of the terms that we'll be considering at that time will take effect January 1 of next year. So I'm just going to go back briefly on the reappointments, kind of give you an idea of what we have coming up. We have received 3 responses back of folks that are ready to rotate off boards, and that is our Civil Service Commission. Formerly Jenny Payton is ready to rotate off there. And our library board, we will have 2 vacancies that we'll need to fill. Ms. Betty Ford and Beverly Lee are ready to go on. We also have some vacancies on boards that we've kind of just left open Parks Board. Well, we had a resignation earlier in the year that we just kind of left open. We have an alternate position on ZBA and also an alternate position on T-Court. So again, once we get the application deadline past us, we've got your books ready, we'll present those to you and get them out of maybe who you want to bring in for interviews. And we hope to start setting those interviews up October 9th, because we do have a short turnaround time to get them scheduled and bring folks in here for the guest speaker. Any questions?
All right. That's good with everybody. Did you mention Georgetown?
No, he has.
Yeah, we were concerned that Mr. Don and I run the business, we reapplied to Georgetown. Oh, good. Really, one of the rock.
Yeah.
There's several, but Georgetown. Might be a good job. Sweet job. Pardon?
Richard's staying on B and B.
I'm gonna be shocked.
Not sure he's up this year.
Next year.
He's next year. We have, we did work with the library this year on designing some little bookmarks just to hand out during the application drive process for folks to kind of take with them and remind them that we're doing accepting work commission applications. We've also set up some out on our table, just a little note to folks that come into council meetings that they're certainly interested in applying and doing an application.
Okay, so we'll proceed with that. Well,
October's gonna be a busy month again.
October, very busy month. What? So, man, let me cover your agenda right quick. There is very little on here. And what I'd like to do is get a dinner, and then I'd like to have some extra time in the closed session so that we can approve the discussion. Thank you, everybody else coming here, we can cover this. Mike Brown, with education, Scout Pack, that's doing the flag. I think they're doing the tour as well. Alicia Davenport is the employee of the month. Mike Collins will introduce her. Alicia, great lady, is doing a good job over there. We'll have a proclamation for Fire Prevention Week.
Chief Rhodes, you want to second?
Yes, ma'am.
Item number 3 is asking you to authorize us to execute in a local agreement with Kent County. This is for the overlay of our streets that they do each year. Chris will step to the podium if you'd like, and he'll cover this one in minutes. But this is a discussed minutes, but it's got considered what Loretta has been doing. Very simple. These are generally the streets that we believe that there may be some slight adjustment on, for example, Hector Drive, depending on what the freeway construction may look like. We may stop at the right-of-way line. We don't, that's kind of a work in progress, but the rest of them we're pretty confident on, just to let you know that. Item number 6, we discussed. Item number 7, you're very familiar with. This is the same old, the Greek Orthodox Food Festival, and same sorry, item number 5. Yeah, we worked real well. Item number 5 is appointing the associate judges. That is Judge Whiteley from previously Hurst and Judge Murphy from Bedford. They agreed to serve once again. And so we strongly recommend that you approve that. Then the Greek Food Festival and the same safeguards are in. They'll work with PD. We won't allow the clock on. Yeah, it's the exact same thing. We don't think there's any changes in that.
We can have an issue with it.
No, we reached out to Miss Olmsted across the street and got her pulse on everything.
It's the same weekend as the South.